Welcome back to JForrest English. I'm Jennifer, and in this 1-hour English lesson, we are going to review 2 different news articles to help you learn advanced grammar, add natural expressions to your speech, and improve your pronunciation. Let's get started. First, I'll read the headline: How Barbie Made a Surprising Comeback. This article is about Barbie, and that's why I'm wearing pink because, as you know, Barbie's favorite color is pink. Maybe you didn't know that because you have no idea who or what Barbie is. In this picture on the right, you see a doll, a child's doll. This doll is Barbie. That's her name. Barbie's boyfriend is Ken. This is the Ken doll. When I was a kid, Barbie was the most popular doll that kids play with. What about in your country? Was Barbie, the Barbie doll, a popular toy for kids? And perhaps you heard that recently, a month ago, a Barbie movie was released. So now that you know who Barbie is, let's review the headline again. How Barbie Made a Surprising Comeback. Let's take a look at this expression, to make a comeback. Surprising is the adjective that describes the expression, but here the expression is to make a comeback, and the verb make is simply in the past simple made. The expression to make a comeback is used when something or someone becomes successful again after a period of not being successful. So remember, I said when I was a kid, Barbie was the most popular toy in North America. So when I was a kid, Barbie was successful. But in the last 10, 15 years, Barbie wasn't successful. But now Barbie apparently is successful again. Barbie is popular again. So in this term, successful can be measured in terms of popularity and the number of sales of Barbie dolls. For you, you might make a comeback if you were doing really well in a course. You were an A+ student, but then halfway through the year, you started failing that course. But then you make a comeback and your grade goes right back up to the top. So success can be measured in many different things. In this context, it's the sales of the doll Barbie. How Barbie made a surprising comeback. Surprising just modifies the expression to say it was unexpected. Now, don't worry about taking all of these notes because I've summarized everything in a free lesson PDF. So you can look for the link in the description to download the lesson PDF. Let's continue. So now let's read the article. The name Barbara Millicent Roberts may not ring a bell. If something rings a bell, it means that the information is familiar to you. So I might say, does the name ring a bell? Does this store ring a bell? I could say, does Barbie doll ring a bell? And I'm asking you, does the concept of a Barbie doll sound familiar to you? And if you've never heard of Barbie, you would say, oh no, teacher, that doesn't ring a bell. That doesn't ring a bell. Or you'd be like, yeah, that rings a bell. I played with Barbie when I was a little kid. So to ring a bell is used when information is familiar. The name Barbara Millicent Roberts may not ring a bell. And honestly, if you said that name to me, I would say that doesn't ring a bell. But say her nickname. A nickname is an alternative name that you can use. So apparently, I actually did not know this. This doll's name is actually Barbara, but everyone calls her Barbie. I had no idea that this doll's name is Barbara. To me, this is Barbie always. So this name definitely would not ring a bell for me, but Barbie, of course, rings a bell for me, but for you, perhaps not until this article. and people of all ages know her, at least in North America. Created by Mattel in 1959, so the Barbie was created by Mattel. In this case, they simply say created by Mattel because the context of Barbie is already known. It's established. Created by Mattel in 1959, Barbie doesn't look a day over 19. So if you don't look a day over 19, it's simply saying that you don't look older than 19. So this can be a nice compliment to say to someone because everyone wants to look young. So you could say to your mom or to your teacher or to a coworker, you don't look a day over, and then you can choose a age that is relatively young to the age of the person you're talking to. So if your mom is 60, it would be a compliment to your mom to say she looks 50, which is 10 years younger than her actual age. So you could say to your mom, you don't look a day over 50. Assuming, in this case, assuming your mom is 60 or 70. Of course, you could say to your mom, you don't look a day over 20, but that is just so far from reality. It's not at all true, right? But it is possible that your mom could look 10 years younger and maybe even 20 years younger. So if you really want to compliment your mom, you can say, you don't look a day over 40. And she'll say, oh my goodness, that is so sweet of you. Thank you. So that's a way you can compliment someone. Okay, so Barbie doesn't look a day over 19. Why? Because she's a plastic doll. She obviously doesn't age. And now she is getting new life in Barbie, the movie, distributed by Warner Bros. The movie out next Friday, starring Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie, of course, here on the left-hand side of this image, who looks very much like the doll Barbie. And that's obviously the point because she plays Barbie in the movie. The movie out next Friday. When something is out and then you have a date in the future or a specific date even in the past, is when a product is available to purchase. So you could say the movie was out last Friday, which means it was available to purchase a movie ticket so you could watch the movie. Or the movie will be out next Friday. In this case, they just said the movie out next Friday in the same way that you could say the movie available next Friday. Available next Friday, starring Margot Robbie, allows Barbie to question her own reality. Not too sure what that will look like in the movie. Something consumers have been doing for decades. So do you plan to see the movie Barbie? Well, of course, if you had no idea who Barbie was, if the name didn't ring a bell, maybe not. But maybe after this article, or if you grew up playing with Barbie dolls your entire life, you may want to see the movie. So let's take a look at this sentence structure. What verb tense do we have here? Have been doing. What verb tense is this? This, of course, is the present perfect continuous. And the present perfect continuous is used for an action that starts in the past and continues until now. The time reference here is 4 decades. When you see for and a period of time, or since and a period of time, that's a keyword for the present perfect or the present perfect continuous. Decades to me sounds like 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It sounds like a long time because 1 decade is 10 years. So decades with an S, plural, is at least 20 years, but it could also be 50 years or 200 years. So it sounds like a long time. So consumers started questioning their own reality decades ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and they've continued doing this, and they're still doing it now. Back in 2014 and 2015, we use back in to talk about a time in the past. So you could say, back in summer, I went on vacation. Back in July, I got a promotion. So you can use a year, you can use a season, or you can use a month. You could also say back when and have a clause. For example, back when I was a kid, I played with Barbies, like every American kid from the 90s. We played with Barbies. Back when I was a kid. Now, of course, I could simply say when I was a kid. By adding back in front of it, it emphasizes that it was a long time ago. Back when I was a kid, back in 2014. So it makes it sound like it was a longer time ago simply than saying in 2014, which also would be grammatically correct. Back in 2014 and 2015, we hit a low. And it was a moment to reflect in the context of, why did Barbie lose relevance? So they now say that this is a quote. I know it's a quote because I see the quotation marks at the beginning and end. And this was said by Rickard Dixon, President and Chief Operating Officer, COO. Generally, they use abbreviations for C titles, COO, Chief. This is the O, Operating Officer. So this becomes COO, President and COO of Mattel. Remember, Mattel is the company that sells Barbie dolls. Warner Brothers was the movie studio that produced the movie Barbie starring Margot Robbie, but the doll has been around for years and years, and the company Mattel created the Barbie doll. So the company that created the Barbie doll said back in 2014 and 15, we hit a low. That means that their sales were lower than previous. So when you hit a low, it sounds like the sales were lower than they have ever been, or that they've been for a long period of time. We hit a low. And it was a moment to reflect in the context of, why did Barbie lose relevance? So their sales hit a low, which means consumers are not buying the Barbie doll anymore. And so they had to say, well, why not? Why isn't the Barbie relevant? Why did the Barbie lose relevance? Where are we here? Lose relevance. So when you lose relevance, it means you are no longer relevant. So that means no longer relevant. And when something is no longer relevant, it means that people, the media, are not talking about that something or someone anymore. So there's no more publicity for it. There's no more popularity. And if people aren't talking about it, it's not popular, well, then they're not purchasing it either. So why did she lose relevance? She, Barbie, didn't reflect the look of the world around us. And so we then set a course to truly transform the brand with a playbook around reigniting our purpose. First, let's look at set a course. When you set a course, you set a particular plan into motion. And so you then just simply follow that plan. So their plan is to transform the brand. Why? Because they want to make sure that Barbie, the Barbie doll, which was extremely popular in the 90s, but then wasn't popular, they wanted to make sure that Barbie remained relevant, remained something that consumers talk about and are interested in, remain relevant. So they set a course to truly transform the brand with a playbook. A playbook is, again, just their plan. You could imagine they write the plan down in their playbook. So this is simply the plan with a plan around a playbook around reigniting our purpose. So reignite, it means to ignite. The word ignite means to start. When you ignite something, that something becomes activated. It starts. So when you reignite it, it means you start it again. You activate it again. So they had a purpose in the past, but now their purpose is no longer relevant because Barbie is not popular anymore. So they need to restart, reignite that purpose. And they're going to set a course to do that. Mattel, the company that produces Barbie, Mattel was slow to diversify Barbie and friends. As a result, sales at Mattel started to slump in 2014. When your sales slump, it means they start to go down. They start to go down. So to decline is another way of saying that, but I don't hear this being used in all contexts. We use it in very specific contexts, sales, for example, because your grades at school, for example, or your kids' grades, if you're no longer in school, your kids' grades could start to decline as well. You could say they started to slump, but to be honest, I don't hear it in an everyday context. I do hear it specifically with sales, which is something that everybody talks about, whether you're in a sales job or you're a consumer and you purchase products from a company as well. So to decline, but I'll put in brackets specifically for sales. But during the pandemic, Barbie saw a resurgence as parents looked for ways to keep kids busy at home. A resurgence in sales is the opposite of a decline, is when the sales start to increase. Again, I wouldn't say I saw a resurgence in my grades, for example. I wouldn't say that, but sales you can. So this is the opposite of a slump. It's when they start to increase. As parents look for ways to keep kids busy at home. So during the pandemic, because all the kids were at home, parents said, well, what can I do? Oh, I can give my kids some Barbie dolls and they can play with Barbie and that will keep them busy. Let's continue. In the first quarter of this year, so a calendar year, January to December, is divided into quarters. So there are 3 months in each quarter. So the first quarter would be January, February, March. That would be the first quarter, which is also known as Q1. So you could say in Q1 or in the first quarter, which represents January, February, and March. In Q1 of this year, in the first quarter of this year, Mattel's sales fell 22% from last year's first quarter. So this is the first quarter in 2023. So Jan to March 2023 compared to Jan to March 2022. Primarily due to declines in Barbie dolls and merchandise. So Mattel as a company does not just sell Barbie. They sell other toys, other products as well. But the company's overall sales fell 22%. And primarily, when you say primarily, it means the main reason. Primarily, the main reason was due to declines in Barbie dolls. So clearly Barbie as a brand is a very important part of Mattel's overall success as a company. Merchandise is things like clothing, posters, jewelry, accessories for something else. So when the movie is released, you can buy the movie, but then there's also a lot of merchandise around that movie. So you can put the poster on your wall. You can buy the poster. You can buy maybe a pen that says Barbie on it, or let me get my pink sparkly pen, which is more appropriate for Barbie. You can buy a pen that says Barbie. That would be an example of merchandise. So their sales fell because of Barbie dolls and merchandise. Now Barbie and friends have many different skin tones and shapes. Mattel produces Barbies in wheelchairs and Ken dolls with the skin condition vitiligo. So the purpose of this is because, remember, the company felt like their sales were falling because Barbie lost relevance. And she lost relevance because she doesn't reflect the look of the world around us. Obviously, considering the entire world, not just North America, this is not what the average person looks like. There are many different looks, shapes, sizes, skin tones. So the company wanted to reflect that to help increase their sales. So these are the Barbies that were available to me when I was a kid. This is what I remember Barbie looking like. But now this is what Barbie looks like. As you can see, there are many different styles of Barbie now to reflect different people, different conditions, and different looks, different shapes. So this is the company's attempt to diversify Barbie so Barbie regains relevance and makes a comeback, becomes successful again. Let's continue. Mattel hopes the new movie, which was 4.5 years in the making, so they were making it for 4.5 years. Sometimes I hear students say 4 years and a half. It's 4.5 and then years, months, weeks, days. 4.5 years in the making will give the brand and Barbie the boost they're looking for. Boost is increase, and it could be increase in sales, increase in popularity. The boost they're looking for. That may already be happening. That being that the movie is giving the brand a boost. That may already be happening. AMC Theaters reports they've sold more than 20,000 pre-sale tickets to Barbie. So a pre-sale is a sale before the movie is officially released, before the movie is out. Remember that? To be out is available. So before the movie's out, they sell the tickets in advance. So a pre-sale is when you buy something in advance of it being available. And at Homebomb Toys in New York City, Movie Barbie is sold out. If something is sold out, to be sold out, it means they've sold 100% of available supply. So to be sold out, to be sold out. So to sell 100% of available supply. So let's say they made 1,000 Barbies available to sell to the public. And if something is sold out, it means they've sold 1,000 Barbies, 100% of available supply. So that's good news for Barbie, and perhaps Barbie is making a comeback. So that's the end of the article. What I'll do now is I'll go to the beginning and I'll read the article from start to finish, and this time you can focus on my pronunciation. How Barbie made a surprising comeback. The name Barbara Millicent Roberts may not ring a bell, but say her nickname Barbie, and people of all ages know her. Created by Mattel in 1959, Barbie doesn't look a day over 19. And now she is getting new life in Barbie, the movie, distributed by Warner Bros. The movie, out next Friday starring Margot Robbie, allows Barbie to question her own reality, something consumers have been doing for decades. Back in 2014 and 2015, we hit a low, and it was a moment to reflect in the context of why did Barbie lose relevance, said Ricard Dixon, President and Chief Operating Officer of Mattel. She didn't reflect the look of the world around us. And so we then set a course to truly transform the brand with a playbook around reigniting our purpose. Mattel was slow to diversify Barbie and Friends. As a result, sales at Mattel started to slump in 2014. But during the pandemic, Barbie saw a resurgence as parents looked for ways to keep kids busy at home. In the first quarter of this year, Mattel's sales fell 22% from last year's first quarter, primarily due to declines in Barbie dolls and merchandise. Now Barbie and Friends have many different skin tones and shapes. Mattel produces Barbies in wheelchairs and Ken dolls with the skin condition vitiligo. Mattel hopes the new movie, which was 4.5 years in the making, will give the brand and Barbie the boost they're looking for. That may already be happening. AMC Theaters reports they've sold more than 20,000 pre-sale tickets to Barbie. And at Homebomb Toys in New York City, movie Barbie is sold out. Amazing job with that article. Now let's move on to our second article. Feel free to take a break, get a cup of tea, review the expressions from the last article, and when you're ready, let's move on. First, I'll read the headline, Barbie versus Oppenheimer. Barbenheimer means are the bomb, pun intended. Of course, we're talking about the movie Barbie and the movie Oppenheimer, which are two very popular movies right now. Notice this here is a combination of the word Barbie and of the word Oppenheimer. They've turned the names of these two individual movies into one, Barbenheimer. Barbenheimer memes are the bomb, pun intended. What exactly does this mean? So let's just say the memes to make it easier to understand, knowing that the memes are referring to the Barbenheimer memes. To be the bomb, in this case, the memes are, we have our verb to be conjugated with memes. The memes are the bomb. To be the bomb is a very informal way of saying that something is really great or cool. I use cool because that expression, the bomb, is used mainly by youth, but it is a very popular, very common expression in North America, but just know it is more of an informal expression. And if you use it, you'll sound very cool, but you'll also sound quite youthful as well. So I could say this new game is the bomb. This new game, this new video game is the bomb, which means this new video game is really great or is really cool. So they're saying these memes are really great. They are the bomb. But notice how they added in brackets here, pun intended. This is also a very common expression in English. A pun is a joke, and it's a joke about the English language. So they can be quite difficult for students to understand why it's funny. Because when you make a pun, it means you use one word or phrase that has different meanings in English or where pronunciation is similar. So in this case, they chose the expression, the memes are the bomb, because the movie Oppenheimer is about bombs, but it's about real bombs, atomic bombs that explode. So it's a pun because they're using this word, the bomb, in two different ways. It works because there's an expression that means the memes are the bomb. They're really good. They're really cool. But also, the bomb is the subject of the film Oppenheimer. So that's a joke. It's a funny little joke that students might not understand. And when they say pun intended, they're saying they specifically chose this expression because of the wordplay, because of the joke, because the word is being used in two different ways. Now, don't worry about taking all these notes because I've summarized everything in a free lesson PDF. So you can look in the description for a link to download that free PDF. Let's continue. Even if you are only remotely interested in the entertainment industry or pop culture. Okay, here, let's take a look at this adverb because it's very useful. Remotely as an adverb is the same as slightly, which means a small amount. So here, interested in the entertainment. So if you have a small amount of interest in the entertainment industry or a small amount of interest in pop culture, you can say, I'm remotely interested in pop culture. So the person knows you only have a small amount, a slight amount of interest. And pay attention to this because we have the expression to be interested with an ED, interested in something, to be interested in something. This is a very common expression, but I still see all my students, even advanced students, make mistakes. So watch this example. I'm interested in learning phrasal verbs. Okay, so here, to be interested in, and then you can have a something, which is a noun, or if you have a verb, it has to be a gerund verb, ing, and then whatever you're interested in. You can also just have the noun, remember. So I could say, I'm interested in phrasal verbs. So simply using it as the noun form. Remember, it's the verb to be, so you have to conjugate it. We are interested in phrasal verbs, for example. Okay, so even if you only have a small amount of interest, even if you are only slightly interested in the entertainment industry or pop culture. Now, I wrote these two examples here because I want you to see that we commonly use this in the negative. I'm not remotely interested in seeing that movie. Compared to, I'm remotely interested in seeing that movie. In this example, I'm remotely interested. I have a small amount of interest. In this case, I'm not interested. So there's zero interest. And when I add the word, I'm not remotely interested, it makes my lack of interest sound even stronger. So you can add remotely to a negative if you really want to emphasize you are not interested. So it makes it sound stronger. Native speakers use this quite a lot just to emphasize when we don't want to do something. So if you invite your husband to see Barbie, he might say, I'm not remotely interested in seeing Barbie. Let's continue. You cannot have missed the buzz around the clash of two of Hollywood's biggest films. Okay, the buzz means the amount of interest that people are showing in the films. And how do people show their interest in subjects in today's world? They post it on social media. They talk about it online. So if you see that a topic is trending or there are a lot of posts online, that's the buzz. There's a lot of buzz around it. There's a lot of interest. So that's another way of saying interest. The buzz around the clash of two of Hollywood's biggest films. So let's look at clash. When two things clash, they are very different from one another. So technically, the movie Barbie and the movie Oppenheimer, they clash because the subject matter of these two movies, the audience who would be interested in watching these two movies are very different from one another. It's not saying that one is better than the other. It's simply saying they're different. So that's when two things clash. We use this with people. I could say, I met someone and she was really nice, but our personalities clashed, which means that our personalities are just very different. Maybe she is very outgoing and loud, and I am quite introverted and quiet. And because of that, our personalities clashed. It's not saying that one is better than the other, it's just saying they're very different. So that's a useful expression. I'll write that example for you so you can see the sentence structure. Our personalities clashed. They were very different. Let's continue. The two films, which are as different as chalk and cheese. That's quite funny because chalk and cheese are obviously very different. I can't think of any similarities between chalk and cheese. That's clever. Which are as different as chalk and cheese in subject matter and treatment, have cinema lovers across the world divided. So you have the people here who love Barbie and the people here who love Oppenheimer. Which one are you? Do you think you're more of the Barbie fan or the Oppenheimer fan? Or you could be in the middle. Maybe you want to see both movies. As people passionately discuss and debate which film to watch first or even watch at all, there appears to be only one winner. The memers of the world. The memers of the world. Okay, what is a memer? A memer is someone who makes memes. It's not very commonly used because I don't think it's a profession. Perhaps it is. Perhaps there is a profession. You're a professional memer. I'm not sure, but that's what it means. A person who makes memes. Just like a singer is a person who sings, a memer is a person who makes memes. So the memers of the world are the only winners in this clash between Barbie and Oppenheimer, which are two incredibly popular but very different movies. The memers of the world who are having a blast creating content about the clash. So remember, the clash is the fact that the two films are extremely different and they're having a blast. I really like this expression. The expression to have a blast here is who are having a blast creating content about the clash. The expression is to have a blast. When you have a blast, it simply means you have a great time. Now notice here, our verb is have. So you have to conjugate your verb according to the subject and the time reference. So in this case, who are having. So this is the present continuous, so it's an ing. And you could say, we had a blast on vacation. This means you had a great time on vacation. Now notice the sentence structure here. Who are having a blast. And what do you notice about your next verb? Creating. It's the gerund, right? That's because the expression to have a adjective time, to have a great time, wonderful time, is a gerund expression. I had a great time catching up with my friends. Now, because the expression to have a blast means a great time, it's also a gerund expression. So you could say, I had a blast learning phrasal verbs over the weekend, because learning should be fun, and I hope you had fun learning phrasal verbs. I had a blast. I had a great time. Both of those are gerund expressions, so you need your verb in ing. I had a blast learning phrasal verbs over the weekend. I hope you're enjoying this lesson, and if you are, I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news, so you can add these advanced expressions to your vocabulary, learn advanced grammar, and learn how to communicate your ideas fluently and naturally in as little as 90 days. And you'll have me as your personal coach. So you can look for the link to join in the description. Let's continue. While Oppenheimer is a biographical thriller based on Robert Oppenheimer, the mind behind the world's first atomic bomb. And remember, that was our pun at the beginning, because the movie is about the atomic bomb, and the expression, the bomb, you're the bomb, means you're really great. So if you think so, you could say, Jennifer, this lesson is the bomb. And that is a really useful, natural, fun way of saying this lesson is really great or really cool. So if you agree, why don't you put that in the comments? I would love to see that. Jennifer, this lesson is the bomb. You can also refer to someone as the bomb. Jennifer's the bomb, which is another way of complimenting me by saying I'm really great. Oh, thank you. Jennifer, this lesson is the bomb. Hopefully you feel that way. So put that in the comments if you agree. Okay, that was our pun from the beginning. Barbie is a fantasy comedy based on the iconic fashion dolls by Mattel. So again, remember, these two films, the content of these films, the topic of these films clash. They're very different. So if you had to watch one, you have to watch one, okay? Which would you choose? And you can only choose one. You have to choose either Barbie or Oppenheimer. Which would you choose? Put it in the comments. Which one do you think I would choose? Barbie or Oppenheimer? I think this is pretty easy, right? Of course, I'm going to choose Barbie, mainly because I like laughing. I played with Barbies when I was a little kid, and I love the color pink. So all of those things leads me naturally towards Barbie, which is a comedy. All right, share your choice and the reason why you would choose it in the comments. I'd love to know. The selection of memes that have spawned from this Clash of the Titans. Clash of the Titans, Titans refers to the best of. So the movies, Barbie and Oppenheimer, right now are considered the best movies available. They're the biggest Hollywood movies right now. So that's why they're the Titans. And remember, the Clash of the Titans. The clash is the fact that they're very different. Spawn from is the fact that these memes only exist because the fact that these movies are extremely popular, they're Titans, and they are extremely different. So spawn from is saying that's where it came from. So spawn from, came from, resulted from, came from. I'll just say came from because that's the simplest translation. The selection of means that have come from, to be grammatically correct, because we have our verb have, so we need the participle. Have come from. Our conjugations are come, came in the past simple, but come in the participle. The selection of memes that have come from, spawned from, this Clash of the Titans even has its own moniker. A moniker is a name that you can give something. So you can simply say name. Even has its own name. The name was shared in the title as well. We already reviewed that, the Barbenheimer. And this comes from the name Barbie and Oppenheimer combined together. The Barbenheimer memes created by the memers who are having a blast. And the memes are the bomb. To top it all, this is a nice transition word. To top it all, well, think there's bottom and top. So when something tops it all, it means it's the most important piece of information or the most important fact. To top it all. To top it all, fans have also fused the two films into posters for one film titled, not surprisingly, Barbenheimer. Well, we already talked about this Barbenheimer. They fused the two films into posters for one film. So they fused two things into one. When you fuse two or more things into, it just means combine. They've combined. So I'll write that for you. Who have also combined. I'll highlight this. Combined, fused. Notice my pronunciation. Fused. And in the past simple, we just have a very soft T. Fused. Fused the two films into posters for one film titled, not surprisingly, Barbenheimer. As expected, Margot Robbie as Barbie. So she's the actress that plays Barbie. And Cillian Murphy as Robert Oppenheimer, the man who plays the lead character in the movie, Oppenheimer, feature predominantly on most posters and memes. So this is saying that these two actors who are the leads in the respective movies, Barbie and Oppenheimer, they feature predominantly, so they're the most prominent, the ones you see the most, predominantly the main on most posters and memes. So that was, I'll go to the very beginning because this was one of the memes. And so they've taken the image of Barbie, who is very perky and happy and fun-loving, but then it's on this very dark and mysterious background of bombs and explosions. So Barbie looks so happy, but then the background is the very serious topic of Oppenheimer, which is atomic bombs. So they fuse them together. They combine them together. And this is Barbenheimer. This poster is Barbenheimer. And I included two of the memes. So that was the end of our article. So you're probably wondering, well, where are these memes? Here are two of them. So again, there are elements of the movie Barbie and elements of the movie Oppenheimer in this one meme. They fuse them together. Barbie lives in a pink mansion in Malibu, the Malibu dream house. That's where Barbie lives. So it's pink. It's been bombed. There's an explosion here, right? So that's the subject of Oppenheimer. They put them together. And here's another one. So again, the very serious subject matter of Oppenheimer, they took that and they turned it into pink. And if you look closely, Barbie is still smiling because Barbie is always happy, right? But then the topic is very serious. So those are two of the memes. Of course, you can simply Google Barbenheimer memes and you can look at other memes as well. So that's the end of the article. What I'll do now is I'll go to the top and I'll read the article from start to finish. And this time you can focus on my pronunciation. Barbie versus Oppenheimer. Barbenheimer memes are the bomb, pun intended. Even if you are only remotely interested in the entertainment industry or pop culture, you cannot have missed the buzz around the clash of two of Hollywood's biggest films, Barbie and Oppenheimer. The two films, which are as different as chalk and cheese in subject matter and treatment, have cinema lovers across the world divided. As people passionately discuss and debate which film to watch first or even watch at all, there appears to be only one winner: the memers of the world, who are having a blast creating content about the clash. While Oppenheimer is a biographical thriller based on Robert Oppenheimer, the mind behind the world's first atomic bomb, Barbie is a fantasy comedy based on the iconic fashion dolls by Mattel. The selection of memes that have spawned from this clash of the titans even has its own moniker, the Barbenheimer memes. To top it all, fans have also fused the two films into posters for one film titled, not surprisingly, Barbenheimer. As expected, Margot Robbie as Barbie and Cillian Murphy as Robert Oppenheimer feature predominantly on most posters and memes. Amazing job! You did it. Think of all the expressions, all the grammar concepts, all the pronunciation that you learned today. Did you like this lesson? Would you like me to make more 1-hour English lessons just like this? If so, put 1 hour in the comments. 1 hour in the comments so I know you liked this lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And why don't you get started with your next lesson right now?